r/AskReddit. Virtual teachers of Reddit. Due to COVID-19, was it shocking to see how some of your kids actually live? And if so, what was the most extreme story? A student wasn't allowed to talk in the morning, so she had to whisper it if she had a question about something. I had a kid who was stuck in the middle of a custody thing mid-quarantine. He was so excited to show us his new digs. When he moves in May, the place he was excited about had gaping holes in the drywall, graffiti written all over the inside of the house, and broken crap everywhere. But he got run of the whole basement floor, and there was enough land for his homeless buddy, also a student of mine, to park his mobile home out back. I didn't want to know what living conditions he'd come from to be excited about that. That honestly breaks my heart. It enrages me. There's no excuse for situations like this, when Bezos's fortune alone is approaching $200 billion. Combine him with all the other billionaires who've built their empires off of exploiting people, and if we just taxed them properly, and then use the taxes to help people, rather than fund war machines, the world would be a utopia. One of my students seemed to live in an actual mansion. I thought it was a green screen or something, but saw their parents walking around behind them later. So in that similar vein, a good friend of mine is a public school science teacher for 8th graders in a very affluent area. As in, median home prices around the school district are easily $750k and up. My teacher friend on the other hand is decidedly middle class and lives a half-hour commute away in a one-bedroom apartment. He was blown away by the level of luxury and decadence that many of his students were living in. With the one that stood out to him the most was a student that would often start the class day outside on what looked like a large, fully furnished country club patio space with a huge well-manicured lawn out behind it. Nope. Just the kid's everyday home. I teach 5th grade, and I had a student who kept apologizing for getting her work in late. She said she had to watch her younger brothers and feed them dinner because mom worked 2 jobs outside of the home. While not really shocking considering the district I'm in, I never would have guessed this was her circumstance. She's 10 and had the responsibilities of a parent. There's even a name for it, parentification. My ex-wife disappeared off the face of the earth with my son for almost 7 years. She homeschooled him and his half-brothers. I only have vague hints that she had moved somewhere southwest. Eventually I got served papers from a court in NM charging me with child abandonment and failure to pay child support. I drove 15 hours to go to that court case, only to find out he and his brothers had been removed from her home because the house was deemed unfit for human living. Once I showed the court-appointed lawyer all my paperwork showing I didn't owe child support, she refused it and signed legal paperwork that was filed with the court and explaining that I had no idea where he even was. The lawyer immediately stopped me, brought in the state's lawyer and explained everything. I ended up staying in NM for a week working with child services, having background checks ran, proving my income and living arrangements, the whole gamut. All while they explained to me that he had been a victim of parentification, where my ex made my 9-year-old son essentially take care of his younger brothers, make meals, baths, almost everything a parent should do. After it was all said and done, I was granted temporary custody of my son and we went back home. She came to the area I was living. I had my personal lawyer draw up paperwork for sole custody, gave her some story about needing it for insurance reasons. She signed without even having a lawyer look at it. She asked for custody back once she finally got her other kids back and had moved yet again. I told her to talk to my lawyer because she wasn't getting him back. She never did. He's an adult now, doing good, after a lot of therapy, has seen her maybe twice in the last 14 years, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And that's how I learned there is a word for what you are describing, as well as got full custody of my son. Edit. Since this blew up a little I figure I'll clarify a couple of things. This is only a high-level overview. There's so much more to this story. With that said, the story I gave her wasn't a complete fabrication. I needed a qualifying event to add him to insurance and my company wasn't accepting the temporary custody paperwork. However, I could have triggered it other ways, and I did ask her if she wanted her lawyer to look at it before she signed. Here's a positive one. When my students send me pics of their homework, occasionally there will be a pet on their bed or a paw in the pic. I made a big deal out of how delighted I was to see pets, and then the assignments with pet cameos came rolling in, including farm animals posing with homework. Edit. Thanks for the golden awards. I enjoy seeing my students happy, and they like seeing me happy. I have a talent for oohing and ahhing over any pet. I'm on summer break now, but my Spanish teacher would always make a point of asking to see our pets. She would always go nuts when she saw my cats, because they're her favorite type of pet. I had a kid with a loner chroma book from school. He would always zoom from a car while parked in a Starbucks parking lot. After some digging I found out that his family is homeless. They go to Starbucks for the free Wi-Fi. Ugh, this one hurts. The number of families living in hotels is shocking. Several in my school district have the kids' bus route change every now and then cause they hit the maximum time on their current motel. Ever wonder why motels post weekly rates? It ain't for longer business stays. No one on a business trip stays in a motel. My son was on a Zoom call with his teacher who had 5 grandkids under age 4 and 3 dogs in her 2-bedroom house. Her kids all work in first responder or medical jobs and the daycares were closed. His speech therapist does all of her lessons from her car in the Starbucks parking lot because they have good Wi-Fi. COVID sucks. It's about to suck harder because our schools are opening back up on Monday, just as COVID has finally taken hold in our city. I don't expect schools to stay open more than 2 weeks before they have to close again. Not a teacher, but I work in child safety. So many teachers and schools are insisting on kids being at desks, wearing non-pajamas, and having a quiet environment. Too bad so many of the kids we work with live in houses where they may share a bedroom with 3 siblings or more, where the idea of quiet time is impossible due to living with a baby, an elderly family member, or just a bunch of other kids also doing school from home. Most kids don't have a desk at home. A large portion of kids don't have somewhere all their own except their beds, and some don't even have that, and schools will still give them crap about that. One of the schools we worked with considered it a really good day when 30% of the kids showed up. There is no way I could have done virtual school as a kid. In elementary school, my family of 5 lived in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment. I shared a bedroom with 2 siblings, and shared a bed with my sister. We were so poor we didn't have consistent power or water. My parents wouldn't have been able to pay for internet or devices for 3 kids. Plus both my parents worked blue-collar low-wage jobs. Who would have watched us? In high school it would have been a bit better, but my parents were divorced, and my mom couldn't have done her factory job from home. Also, both my parents were abusive, and would surely have been caught screaming or hitting us on Zoom. I honestly try so hard not to think about what some kids must be going through right now, or it would tear me apart. I've done virtual since March, and did it over summer for summer school. Yes, but most shocking moment. I saw a mom in a thong. It took me a second to realize I was seeing the backside of this unsuspecting middle-aged woman. No judgment, I'm 40. Just giving a visual. This was not some penthouse for a moment. As a heterosexual female witnessing a woman I do not know in a thong. Yes, it was shocking. Glad it was me instead of a male coworker. Luckily, I used 2 computers, one for Zoom, and one to actually check their online work. I pretended to be very focused on the other computer, as if I did not see what I saw. However, it did make me realize the teenage girl and the mom share a room, and that's probably why she usually keeps the lights off, and the camera angled away from the room. This was the one time the lights were on. And, if you know Zoom, you know the breakout rooms, and how they work. I had a student by herself in a breakout room. I suspect they didn't expect me to be popping in to check on her right at that moment. No one had said or acknowledged anything, so I think in the clear. After this, I think Zoom needs a "hey, I'm joining your breakout room" option. Kinda like a polite knock. Weird world we live in, trying to figure out a new etiquette. My middle school team agreed to not require kids to show their face/background. One time a kid surprised me though. His little brother, probably 8 years old, was bothering him during one of the last few classes, and they had a pool. I was honestly more surprised by the pool, since I teach Title I. A student said to just throw the kid in the pool. I stopped this, and probably gave the most important life lesson ever. Wait. There's a checklist you need to go through before throwing someone in a pool. Can they swim? Do they have electronics on them? Is it safe? If it passes all of those, throw them in the pool. I tutored kids online in math for the last few months. Nothing of note except for this one kid, sweet as a button, who never worked in a quiet space. They had to work on their kitchen table, so there was always one of the following: their parents discussing mundane things at a high volume. His brother raging at video games. I'm talking full on maximum out the microphone raging. Every 10 minutes. His brother playing violin. He was not very good. I listened to a series of interviews with parents and children about their remote schooling experience, and I heard one little girl like that. The girl just wanted to work in her room, where it was cozy and quiet, but mum forced her to work out in the lounge, so she could keep an eye on her and her toddler sister. The noise/disruption from the toddler made it really hard for her to concentrate. I mean, the girl was 6, so she should be okay to work in her room, but I guess it would make it harder for mum to go in and help her when she needed a hand with something.